Hi and welcome to another edition of the Chef Studio. I'm Chef Gordon Rader, Executive Chef and Program Director here at Indian Hills Community College. Now, we've done some really interesting items over the past few weeks, months. Our director, Cecil B. DeMille, has really been interested in lobster preparation. I think, we have lobster at Hy-Vee's locally, and I see people every day that walk by as I go in and purchase items for the school. They talk about lobsters, but nobody really knows how to prepare them, so I thought it would be a great idea to go ahead and show you what to do. Very easy process. Multiple ways to prepare them, but we're going to do the basics today. First off, your lobster. Now, this is a Maine lobster. There's a lot of different lobsters, in particular rock lobster, spiny lobster. This is the only lobster that I'll eat, though. Comes from Maine, comes from the Atlantic. Cold water, so the flesh is sweet, super sweet. And the fact that a Maine lobster has claw meat, so you've got a lot more meat on it as opposed to rock lobsters and the spiny lobsters, which come from New Zealand, Australia, California, Mexico, Brazil, which is all tail meat. Now, the Brazilians will tell you that the tail meat is the best meat, and we'll argue back and forth, but I'm telling you, put it up against, take a frozen lobster tail from Brazil and put it up against one of these that are fresh. No comparison. So now I purchased this about 2 hours ago and he's been out of the water. When you bring them home, you really want to put them in the refrigerator. Generally, they'll pack them in some seaweed for you, give them some of their natural element. But as they're out of the water, they're going to start to loosen up a little bit. It's not as lively as he was. But when I got him out of the tank, he was fighting. So that's what you're looking for. You want a live lobster. You want him to be fresh and fighting. Quick reference point, too. Some of the students asked about telling the difference between a male and the female and what might be, what makes a difference. Do you want a female over a male? I like the female over the male. Generally, the meat tends to be more tender, as well as there's an egg sac there, which is really nice to eat either by itself or to mix in with the tamale, the actual liver, make a stuffing to stuff back into the lobster. The way you can tell, these first swimmerettes, they call them, and let me get a pair of tongs here or something. These are soft and feather-like. Those first set of swimmerettes, those are going to be, that's a female. If they're hard and plastic-like, okay, they're not feathery, that's a male. This way today, we're going to boil it. Super salted water, okay? I like to have kind of a nice sea bath, okay? Now, if you're squeamish about killing the lobster, there's a couple things you could do, I guess, ahead of time. Some people put them in the freezer for a few minutes, and it just kind of makes them lethargic. It slows them down. It numbs them up. Of course, it would you too, and then you can go into the pot. But I think it's best just to go ahead and get it done and have done with it. Some folks will go ahead and split it, take the knife point, and put it right between the eyes, about an inch back from the tip, and go ahead and insert it in. The brain's so small, though. I mean, you'll miss it anyway. They're not capable of higher thought processes, so I don't think it's going to be any great big deal. A lot of times, like I said, we'll just split them down the middle, and there's a half for you, there's a half for me, and away you go. Make sure your water's rolling boil, okay? You've got your salt in it. And if you wanted to add some aromatics to it, that's great too. Let me quickly, before I throw it in, one way that I really love to do this is to carrot, celery, and onion, maybe a little garlic, some lemon juice, and white wine, preferably a Pinot Grigio or a Chardonnay. And then just cook it till it's almost done. Okay, well, when's it done? Well, they used to tell me when it floats, but that's not necessarily the case. It's going to turn red, and let's go ahead and start the process so you can see. And head first into the pot. There's going to be a little bit of flapping going on, so you might want to hold that tail down. You don't want to get splashed with boiling hot water. Just be a couple of minutes, and then we'll be on our way. You want to just give him another minute so he quits moving. Oh, the funeral song is playing. So, in the hotel, we would take him a time to a board, the tail to the board, because we wanted to use, especially the big lobsters, the 2.5 pounders and ups. We would do presentation pieces with it. So if you want that tail meat to be straight, put it on a board and tie it with a piece of cloth or a piece of butcher's twine, and that's going to keep him rigid all the way across. But we're just going to eat him, so we're not worried about how his tail's curled up or not. 3 to 5 minutes. This is a pound and a quarter. They're classified chickens. In New England, you'll find the chicken lobster. Those are cheapest. They're about a pound, a little bit over a pound. Pound and a quarter, pound and a half, 2.5. selects, and up above that's jumbo. Okay, the big ones are really tough. I don't like them. I like the smaller ones. And what's a great find too, if you're bringing them in from having them shipped in from New England, well, there's a lot of great purveyors that'll do that for you. Is to get the culls. Maybe you'll just have one claw. So that's going to be a lot cheaper too on you. They sell them at a lot cheaper price. Now you see how it's turned red? That's not an indication. That happens right away when the heat hits the pigmentation in the shell, the denaturing of the protein. Okay, it's kind of like the fall time and the leaves turn color because the temperature. Same thing going on there. The pigmentation, it just turns red. You'll see that in shrimp. You'll see it in a lot of shellfish. Not all shellfish, but quite a few. So you want to go ahead and we'll just let that cook for a little while and we'll come back to it. Okay, it's time to come out. And you're going to want to be really careful when you pull this guy out. Okay, tongs, and make sure you've got a good hold on it, and then a towel. Okay, we're going to hold it upright like this to let some of that water drain out of the shell. And you're still going to have some residual water in there. This is natural. But it's super hot, and you don't want to burn yourself. So we're going to come directly to the cutting board. And that's a recognizable lobster, okay? Obviously, we don't need the rubber bands anymore. It's no longer a threat to us, right? But these can be painful if you don't keep those on. They get a finger. So, now the big question always is, what do I do with it now? You know, that's problematic, and the best suggestion is to get a big bib, and you'll find that in the lobster houses up and down the East Coast, that they'll give you a huge bib because you're going to get it messy, and that's really the best. This to me is the best way to eat a lobster. So to start with, I always like to work from the tail forward. Pull it out. Maybe you want to grab your towel too because there's going to be some water comes out, and just twist. Okay, one twist. It all comes out in one piece. Okay, and now we're going to take the tail section and we're going to just pull that off, and we're going to take our thumb and just push into that cavity, and it comes out in one piece. Okay, and that's perfect. That is really, okay, this is good. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. This is perfect, as a matter of fact. Boy, I'm a great chef to get this like this. Cut that in half. There's a little bit of intestinal tract we're going to move out. I'm going to set that just like this. Now, don't throw this away. I'll tell you why, because it makes great stock. You want to make a lobster bisque with what's left over. Use this, put it in a pot, saute it up with some vegetables, carrots, celery, and onions like we've talked about before with our stocks, and let it cook a couple of hours, and you've got a great base for soup. I'm just going to put this in the sink. Now, the claws. Just like the tail, quick twist, okay? Quick twist. Now, each one of these sections has great meat in it, so you want to be sure that you grab a claw cracker, or a nut cracker, as this is really actually. Go ahead and bust this open. Takes a little time. This is kind of soft too, so it's not going to be that big a deal. And then you can go ahead and either take your fingers to get the rest of it out, peel back the shell, and be careful, there's some really spiny pieces on here. Or use one of these instruments to get in and dig it out. And this one didn't come out as nice as it should, but all up and down there's meat there. Now, for the claw itself, I'm just going to take the back of my knife. I'm going to crack each side. Okay, and see how that pops off? The meat stays in there. Take your claw and open it up. Pull it forward until that cartilage comes out. And this is just going to come out in one piece, or ideally it will. A little bit of, right, just like that. Right? So that's all meat right there, and this is the best part. I'm telling you, this is tender and lovely. All right? So, and you can use the claws for a little garnish up there too. Now I'm going to set this up here. Now, the diehards, okay, you're going to see them in here working this guy back and forth. But if you're at home and you want to get the most out of your lobster, maybe you're going to make a lobster biscuit, you're going to make lobster thermidor or some classic preparation, and you want to get every ounce of meat out of there, get a rolling pin. Just take your rolling pin and just push that meat out. You're going to have to work with it a little bit. Okay, see how it just rolls right out of there? You have to move it down as you go. Okay, so all the meat that was contained in the leg is right there in one piece. So now you've wasted nothing. So I mean, you know, you go to the store, and this is a nice thing that I'll do at home. I'll get 6 or 7 or 12 or 15 of them and cook them all off at the same time, and then shuck all of that stuff. Okay, and then come back in. I'll just cook it a little bit lighter. I won't cook it all the way through. And then actually come back and reheat it, bring it up to temperature, and let it cook the rest of the way. And you know, maybe you want to throw it on the grill. You know, you could cut this guy in half, throw him on the grill, right? This makes a nice little presentation here. Okay. Got this little baby greens that we grow here at the campus, on campus. We grow our own stuff. We've got microgreens, baby arugula, baby basil, pea shoots, popcorn shoots, and those make great garniture for this. Now, clarified butter. All I've done is taken a pound of butter and cooked at low heat so your milk solids separate and you've got just straight oil, and that's what you want. Straight oil. You're going to use this to dip your lobster in. Okay? There's the oil, there's a little bit of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Have lunch, right? Thanks for coming by.